Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you
again and again.
Black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Technology News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Ben Felix. Today I'm going to be discussing some big news coming out of Microsoft, how the coronavirus is breaking the internet, not literally, but kinda. And then we're going to also discuss how the coronavirus has affected what was supposed to be a huge year for iPhones and smartphones. And then iOS 13.4 just dropped, the new operating system by Apple, so we'll discuss some of the features from there. And Google banned Infowars Android app, which is ran by Alex Jones. I'm sure some of you have heard of him, so we'll discuss that a little. And we'll finish off by discussing the grand return of HQ Trivia. So, let's get started. Amidst all the craziness that's been going on with the coronavirus pandemic, Microsoft has been popping up in the news circuit over the past couple of weeks a lot. They've had a lot of different big things going on in the company, some big shakeups, and the most notable of the shakeups is the announcement that came last week stating that Bill Gates would be stepping down from the board of directors, a board that Bill Gates had been a part of since Microsoft first went public in 1986. So that's a 34-year run coming to an end right there. Bill Gates addressed the situation in a LinkedIn post on March 13th. In the post, he stated, "I have made the decision to step down from both of the public boards on which I serve, Microsoft and Berkshire Hathaway, to dedicate more time to philanthropic priorities, including global health and development, education, and my increasing engagement in tackling climate change. The leadership at the Berkshire companies and Microsoft has never been stronger, so the time is right to take this step. Serving on the Berkshire board has been one of the greatest honors of my career. Warren and I were the best of friends long before I joined and will be long after. I look forward to our continued partnership as co-trustees of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and co-founders of the Giving Pledge. With respect to Microsoft, stepping down from the board in no way means stepping away from the company. Microsoft will always be an important part of my life's work, and I will continue to be engaged with Satya in the technical leadership to help shape the vision and achieve the company's ambitious goals. I feel more optimistic than ever about the progress the company's making and how it can continue to benefit the world. I am looking forward to this next phase as an opportunity to maintain the friendships and partnerships that have meant the most to me, continue to contribute to two companies of which I am incredibly proud, and effectively prioritize my commitment to addressing some of the world's toughest challenges." So, like I said, that news came as a big shock, and it was similar to like when Disney announced a few weeks back that Bob Iger was, or not even a few weeks, a couple months back, that Bob Iger was stepping down as CEO. That news came out of the blue. You know, it had kind of been expected. But even this with Bill Gates, I don't think, from what I've been reading, this didn't seem as predicted as the Bob Iger move. So this one caught a lot of people off guard, I know for sure. And Microsoft stocks, of course, immediately dropped a lot when the news came out, because this one was also kind of a rough roll, and it was in the weird period of, like, it was just as last week when the coronavirus pandemic was just in full swing. And so companies across the board where their stocks were dropping and it was just madness going on. And in the midst of all that, you have Bill Gates stepping down from a board seat right there. It kind of left a lot of people questioning things. But from the sounds of it, it seems like, it was a move for him that helps him clear his plate so he can focus on some other stuff. And Bill Gates has really been doing a lot of great work around the world. Like he said, his philanthropic, cannot say that word to save my life, but he's been doing a lot of good work around the world. And so I think him taking a step back from this helps him be able to fully commit to those other work. And then Microsoft will be able to bring new people in, and someone else join the board that can, focus more time and attention into helping that company grow. But that's one of the big changes. Like I said, there was a couple. Some of the other big changes that have occurred at Microsoft also is they, as they begin to prepare for this new era for the company, they have reorganized their Windows device team last month, placing Surface Chief Panos Panay in charge of both Windows and hardware. While it's still early days for Panay, we've already started to get a glimpse of how things might change with Microsoft, with Windows actually. And that starts with a new Windows Insider Leader. That's Microsoft beta program that sees millions of people testing Windows 10. So similar to how Apple has their beta program, Microsoft's is Window Inside Leader. Panay said in a statement, "In my first 30 days as the Windows leader, as I've been spending time listening, learning, and working with the team to build a vision for the next era of Windows, I've been in awe of the Insider Group and the level of dedication and depth of knowledge they have. To keep this momentum going and continue to grow and innovate in Windows, it's clear that we need the right person to lead this powerful community into the next era, which is why I'm excited to announce Amanda Langowski, I'm terrible with names, as the new lead of the Windows Insider program." So Microsoft will now be getting ready to build a vision for where Windows goes next. The software maker they've tried a variety of ways to entice creators to Windows over the past 5 years, but some of the new things they tried, they've also walked back on it. And the pace of Windows 10 updates has certainly slowed down over the past 12 months. I know I use Windows 10 on my laptop, and I haven't been getting as many updates as usual. So it just kind of leaves you debating, kind of playing the guessing game, trying to figure out what Microsoft has next in store, kind of thinking through what they're planning to do next. And this was an interesting quote I saw from the CEO talking about kind of as Microsoft's working on their, shifting to this new era. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said, "We want to move from people needing Windows to choosing Windows to loving Windows." She said this 5 years ago, and when you look at it, it's fair to say Windows has, they've certainly improved over the past 5 years. And I think part of that is, they're really just trying to compete and keep up with Apple, because, Apple's at the top of the game right now with their software, and, that Apple's always continuously updating their programs, and with them, it's more significant. It's more like, I think it's just since, more people across the board have Apple products, or more, we keep, I know I personally keep more of a close eye to some of the updates Apple has going on, not as much as Windows, Microsoft, and all that. So I think Microsoft's recognizing that, and they're trying to shift that and trying to figure out, all right, how can we, up the pace? How can we start making updates that, like she says, where you're not just needing it, you're not just choosing it, but you're just loving Windows. You're loving that program. That program is, so advanced, or in a way that it makes your life easier across the board, whether it's for work or school related items, or just leisure. So, it'll be really cool to see, what the next few years kind of look like for Microsoft, if they're just in a tough race trying to keep up with Apple. And, but nonetheless, they just celebrated 1 billion Windows users, recently. So, any laptop you have, it's got Windows on it. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I think they're just trying to, rather than just be the standard, same thing that's, you expect to have with everything. They're trying to up the game and take their, product to the next level. So it'll be exciting to see where they go from there. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how the internet is breaking as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. So we'll be right back after the break.
IRA or 401k to be a part of the biggest wealth transfer in history. If you have a retirement account, you've likely invested in a mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. The tax benefits are extraordinary, yes, but if you wish that you had more investment options, you're not alone. Now, thanks to a little-known IRS tax law, you can convert your IRA or eligible 401k into cryptocurrency. Get all the growth potential of crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and more, with any gains coming on a tax-deferred basis. BitIRI has thousands of satisfied customers and has earned an A+ rating with the BBB. For a limited time, the folks at BitIRA are offering a free copy of their essential guide to digital IRAs, which you can claim at bitira.com/technology. This free guide reveals everything to know about cryptocurrency in your IRA. Discover the tax benefits if your account is eligible, and how to make this move in 3 easy steps. Zero obligation to you to request this info. If you have over $20,000 in an IRA or 401k, see if diversifying your retirement savings into crypto makes sense for you. That's bitira.com/technology.
Do you work in the world of marketing and advertising? Are you a media buyer or the owner of an agency? Have you been looking for a podcast to help stay on top of all the goings-on of those worlds? The GSMC Marketing News Podcast is dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning marketing and advertising. Get the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast has you covered, whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand.
Welcome back. Now, in the last segment, we talked about some of the big changes going on in Microsoft. Welcome back. And, now, in the last segment, we talked as they shift, planning for the future and trying to keep up with Apple in a way. Now, in this segment, we're going to talk about how the internet is breaking as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. So, as the whole country, actually scratch that, the whole world has gone into quarantine over the past few weeks. More people have shifted their lives onto the internet, whether it's work-related or for leisure. And, when I say, this pandemic is breaking the internet, obviously the internet can't literally break, but this whole, global quarantine essentially has been given the internet a hell of a time, straining the crap out of it. So It's funny, even Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg recently told New York Times, "We're just trying to keep the lights on over here," as the company's social network tries to accommodate soaring app usage rates for calls, messaging, and news consumption. And so, if a company like Facebook is feeling the pressure, all these other social media platforms are also feeling it. And beyond that, even just other entities that people use to stay connected beyond social media, like Skype and all that. Zoom, the stocks for Zoom have risen a lot over the past few weeks as everyone's shifting their work meeting to Zoom. And so that's one company that's definitely doing well during this time of crisis. But internet speeds have been, first of all, this information I'm going to be sharing up next is courtesy of Aaron Mack of Slate. I want to give proper credit. He talks about how internet speeds have been declining in various coronavirus hotspots around the world as broadband providers scramble to keep up with the sudden spikes in traffic. Hubei, the Chinese province that has Wuhan as its capital, has seen mobile broadband speeds fall by roughly 60% since January, according to Ookla's down detector, which is an internet monitoring service. And so performance, luckily though, has been slowly improving in March, as we've seen that it seems like China has reached the tail end of the outbreak over there. So, which is good for them, but they still have a long ways to go. And then countries in Western Europe, they've began, where's my notes? Let me pull this up real quick, scrooge down. They've began experiencing broadband performance issues in early March, around the time when governments there began enforcing lockdowns, and the dips have not been as dramatic as they were in Hubei, though. In the U.S., broadband declines have been negligible in some cities, but dramatic in others. The broadband tracking service Broadband Now found that 88 of the 200 most populous cities in the country experienced some amount of network degradation in the past week. Austin, Texas, Oxnard, California, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina saw download speeds drop by more than 40%, while San Jose, California had a 38% drop. Meanwhile, there have been little to no changes in download speeds in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and Chicago, which is kind of surprising. I would have definitely thought LA would have experienced major, decline in the speed, but I guess not. And I'm assuming New York is not having the problem because it was not on the list either. Now, as far as video streaming, Netflix, YouTube, and Amazon and other streaming services have all committed to downgrading their picture quality in various parts of the world in order to avoid putting too much strain on the internet, as hundreds of millions of people stay home and binge watch shows, in an effort to practice social distancing and not lose their mind being bored. I know. In the past week, that's literally how I've been spending a good amount of my day. I went through Love is Blind, Tiger King, which is like the crazy crave right now. If you haven't seen Tiger King, you need to watch it. It's insane. But doing that and then just watching a bunch of The Office and other stuff. So I constantly, I like to just have it on in the background as background noise, The Office. So I know I'm constantly streaming, and I've definitely felt the strain on the internet on my side, because there's a couple times where my Netflix is just lagging, and it'll be and it's just random times throughout the days. Usually there's particular times when where 7-8, when a lot of people are home, you'll feel the strain, but this is all throughout the day because everyone's home right now. So but back to this list. In this list, Alex talks about, he said, before the pandemic, peak streaming times for most households lasted 4 hours on weekdays It's now 10 hours a day, according to CNBC. Video is by far the biggest bandwidth hog. Netflix alone consumes 15% of the world's bandwidth. That's insane. Netflix said on Saturday that it's reducing traffic by 25% in Spain and Italy, and now it's being reported that they might be applying those cuts to other European countries, as well as in Latin America and India. Nothing has been said so far yet for as far as U.S., if they're going to implement that here, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I think, how we're supposed to be in shutdown for at least another month until April 30th is now kind of the new date everyone's been told to aim for. I think they're just gonna probably in this next week or so at least slow the speed down somewhat, because they're just gonna have so much traffic. It's only gonna continue going up and putting a strain on it. YouTube, they announced on Tuesday that it would be setting the default video quality to standard definition across the globe for a month, though people will be able to opt in for higher resolution. Amazon is also throttling its Prime Video service in Europe and the UK, but has been tight-lipped about the specifics. Disney Plus, they're reducing their picture quality and they're cutting bandwidth consumption by at least 25% overall, and they're delaying their launch in France by 2 weeks. That's how that's affecting streaming. And then last one I'll talk about real quick is video games. Similar to streaming sites, video game services, they've also been trying to enact measures to ease up the strain they put on networks. Sony and Steam. Steam is a virtual video game marketplace. They have both committed to throttle traffic from downloading games. On Tuesday, Steam had more than 22.6 million people using its service concurrently, beating out a record it had set in early 2018 of just over 18.5 million. So their previous record of 18.5 million, they've eclipsed that with about 22.6 million people using their service at once. That's crazy. Microsoft, maker of the Xbox, has additionally asked major gaming companies to space out the release of their online updates so as not to clog up any networks. And I know with Microsoft, a couple weeks ago, I was at a friend's. We were trying to, download this game to play, and their online network was down for it seemed like it had been for a couple hours. And so, yeah, it's just all across the board between streaming, video games, all these services, all these companies are experiencing these strains on the internet, and they're managing. But as the protocols get stricter, and they're enforcing more and more people, and as we get more into lockdown, because there's still people going out there, there's still people being out when they shouldn't be. So I think local governments and all are only going to get more stricter with the rules and force it to the point where people have to stay inside. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out the next couple of weeks with all this. I think I don't think the internet can break, but it's gonna be a rough period, and we might have to set down the Roku remote for a second and pick up a good old book, which I've been meaning to do, and 2 weeks in, I've failed so far. So maybe this is the week I get around to doing some reading and take a break from, just whether being on my laptop, iPad, or watching stuff on Netflix. So that's kind of that. We're going to take another quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to discuss what was supposed to be a big year for smartphones, but that's all kind of shifted amidst the coronavirus. So we'll be back after this break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Technology News Podcast. Last segment, we talked about how the internet may be breaking a little. And in this segment, we're going to discuss how the coronavirus has affected what was supposed to be a huge year for phones. Now, towards the end of last year and the beginning of 2020, all the talk in the smartphone world was revolving around 5G. I know I saw a bunch of commercials between Verizon, T-Mobile, all of them just kind of going back and forth at each other. Who has 5G first? Who has the bigger 5G network? And a lot of us, for the most part, as your average consumer, most people don't even know what that means. It's just, all right, that's one more G more than 4G, because up until then it was 4G LTE, and then now talks of 5G had started circulating, and this was going to be the big year for that. I think a lot of companies were starting to roll out 5G ready smartphones. All the talks there was a lot of hype around the new iPhone that's still going to drop later this year. I think Apple's planning to still stay on track with that, but this, like I said, this was the year 5G ready devices were meant to go mainstream, and also there was hype around foldable phones. This was their chance to prove that they could exist in current climate like now, and everything seemed great, but then COVID-19 came and everything kind of just fell from that point. One of the biggest things that affected in the tech world, it took out enormous events like Mobile World Congress and Google I/O along the way. Some of some of the other major tech conferences and stuff that happen around this time of the year, where they roll out these big phones or kind of what to expect ahead. All these events got taken out as a result of that. Now, savvy brands like Apple and Samsung, they're going to continue to sell phones because they can amidst this time. Apple especially, like, their sales won't be as high as possible, but they'll still manage to do well. But Jessica Dolkart of CNET wrote an interesting article that kind of caught my attention about how these companies should go about this time, where this is where it's supposed to be a lot of rollout for them, kind of teasing everything they got going on, promoting everything, and getting people hyped for their 5G ready phones. And so Jessica talks about, during the downtime, phone brands have a chance to clear out the bloatware and rethink the old ways of doing things. The constant need to push out X products Y times per year. And Apple does two big releases per year at the springtime, and then their well-known fall releases. That's usually the one where you get the new iPhone every year. Samsung, I don't keep up with them that often, but I feel like with Samsung, Samsung's, it feels like they're releasing a new phone every other month. It looks like they're on Galaxy 20 already. I swear, I feel like it was a few months ago we were on Galaxy. Like, I miss all the phones in between Galaxy 10, I'm assuming. So I think they might have jumped from 10 to 20, but I know Galaxy has the trend of releasing a lot of phones, I feel like, immediately. And speaking of that, Galaxy S20 phones, the Galaxy S20 Ultra, S20 Plus, and the standard Galaxy 20 introduced premium features like 5G across the board, a zippy Snapdragon 865 chipset, a 1200 hertz screen refresh rate, and new photography tools. But the phones are very expensive. So the entry level S20 costs $1,000 at full retail price, and at the end of the day, they're not worth the upgrade from the Galaxy Note 10 or even Galaxy S10 series. Okay, so they did skip from 10 to 20. I was confused. I was like, I swear, like, I know I didn't miss 10 phones in between Galaxy 10 and now 20. But one of the big things Jessica talks about in her article, she suggests that perhaps it's better to take a break from the high-speed cycle of churning out phones, whether we want to or not. She talks about how she would love if phone brands would use the time to take a step back, if engineers were given license and space to create genuinely bold, exciting, and solid built devices. And I kind of agree with that, because it is such a quick turn rate for these phone companies. Like I said, I mainly follow Apple and keeping up with them, even their stuff where the features between the different phones, a lot of times, at least with the past few phones, it hasn't seemed significant enough. I know for the 11, this most recent one, the 3 camera was a huge thing. And that was a really cool feature, but there was that period in between where I feel like between the 6, 7, and 8 where there wasn't really that much huge change, and all those changes always came within the camera, and so, but it's I don't think it was significant enough until, like, when you jump from 10 and then 11 Plus and some of the other ones. But I do agree with her where taking the time and really, because I think their engineers and designers they're always, they're always have people on their heel, and I think it's just, hey, like, what's a little thing we could update here, a little thing we could tweak here. How can we make this a little faster? Okay, cool. Do this, maybe make it a little more sleek of a design. All right, let's get those built out and then kind of ship it out. And there's not really, rather than taking baby steps in innovation, why don't you take a longer period of time and then give your designers more time to get more creative, play around, test some stuff out. And that way, instead of dropping 2 phones in a year, maybe you miss a whole year where you don't drop a phone, but then next year the phone you drop is like 10 times better than what you would have dropped, the 2 phones you would have dropped in a year. And I think, especially because we see what Apple being as big as they are, the most popular phone in the world, their numbers for the 11 was very low. They weren't selling that much. I have the 11 Plus, but the only reason I got the 11 Plus was because my previous phone I had was the 7 Plus, and the 7 Plus had stopped making calls, so I literally needed to upgrade. And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to upgrade, I might as well get the newest one. But I know for me, I usually take at least 2 years before I upgrade my phone. And that's a lot of people. That's the other thing with it. As these phones have gotten better, people are upgrading less and less. My phone, it's my camera, it's my wallet, does everything well. I protect it well. I keep a case on it, a screen protector, so it's always in great condition. And every time, the past 3 phones I've traded in to upgrade my phone, I've always been able to trade it in and get some money back because I've managed to take a great care of it. And I think a lot of people are doing that. And they're making, they make these phones sleek with their clear design and all that. And it looks cool and all, but it's just like, I know I dropped this, it's going to shatter. So that's why I have all the protection on it. And a lot of other people are doing the same. And that's why, those people are holding on to those phones longer and, not needing to upgrade as much. And also these phones are starting to cost basically what it costs to get a used car. I know the retail for the 11 Pro was like $1,100, I'm pretty sure. And like we just talked about with the S20, the entry level S20 cost $1,000. So these are just ridiculous prices to be wanting consumers to pay, annually or even, biannually. So, hopefully these companies, Apple, Samsung, take this time, where it was supposed to be a big year for them, and they kind of just reevaluate the way they're doing things and, slow the rate of getting products out there and really focus more on the innovation and really being able to, make products that I really need to get this phone. It's not just, hey, we made this 0.5% faster, or this battery's, 10% longer. They're pushing for really big innovations, which would be cool to see. So we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing iOS 13.4. That just dropped last Tuesday, and I'm going to be discussing some of the features and new fun stuff packed in that operating system. So sit tight, and we'll be right back after this break.
Are you a business owner? Someone interested in the latest news that might affect your business? Then check out the GSMC Business News Podcast, a show dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning business, technology, and the stock market. Get a head start on the day as we keep you updated on the latest goings-on Wall Street, money, jobs, and technology. The GSMC Business News Podcast has you covered.
Welcome back to the GSMC Technology News Podcast. Last segment, we discussed how the coronavirus has affected what was supposed to be a big year for smartphones with 5G and all that. Now, in this segment, we're going to talk about some of the new features in Apple's latest operating system release, iOS 13.4. So Apple released iOS 13.4 on Tuesday, March 24th. They had been testing this update in beta since February, so there was a lot of kinks they've been working through. But finally, they rolled 13.4 out, and so you have iPad OS 13.4, Mac OS 10.15.4, TV operating system 13.4, and watch operating system 16.2. So they released new operating systems for basically all their products: iPhones, iPads, Macs, TV, and watch. Now, in regards to iPhone, the new update has 9 new Memoji stickers like party face, smiling with hearts, eye rolling, and huffing with anger. So if you like messing around with those Memojis, they're pretty fun. I like to mess with them every now and then. So it's just crazy how real. I don't know. It's just crazy how they capture your full face motion and everything you say, your mouth movement. So they're fun to mess around with. And if you have kids, they'll especially love it. But as well with the iOS 13.4, they have included an iCloud driver folder sharing from files. So the iCloud Drive folder, this feature will allow users to share folders with a private link so anyone with access can see the content in iCloud Drive, as well as they could add new files. This is similar to Google Docs. You can access iCloud Drive from your phone's Files app or Finder on Mac and give people editing or read-only access and reach your folders from your iPhone, iPad, Mac, iCloud.com, and Windows via iCloud. So this is a huge new thing for Apple, and I'm surprised it's taken them this long to come out with it. But that's one of the reasons I like Google Docs a lot. Like, I have a Lenovo laptop, and but I do a lot of Google Docs stuff on my laptop, but it's great because I have the Google Docs on my iPhone, so I'll just be pulling, I don't have to worry about saving something and then making sure I email it to myself or have it on a flash drive. All that extra stuff, I can edit it on my laptop and then pull it up whenever I need to on my phone. So it's great with a lot of little stuff like insurance or little documents here and there that you need, or little, sometimes you work on something and you can't get it printed immediately and you have to print it later. You could do it, have it pulled up on your phone, and then if you need to email it to yourself, do it from there. So it's nice being able to have access to it across all your platforms. So I'm excited for that. I think that'll be great. And then iOS 13 also comes with a new car key feature in Apple CarPlay that lets you unlock your car with your phone, which is pretty interesting. So this makes use of your iPhone's near field communication system to communicate with compatible cars. So I'm not exactly sure what compatible cars would be. That's really intriguing. I'll have to research that a little more. But some companies already, like Tesla and Mercedes, have app-specific specific to their cars that if you purchase a car, download the app and you could control your car from your phone, where you could turn it on, start, have it running. So on those cold days, your car is already warming up, and that's definitely one feature I would love, because just getting off this winter period, that's the one thing I always hate. Working early in the morning, you're rushing out there. I'm always the type that I leave myself little time to actually be able to go out there and warm my car. Being on the third level, and our parking area is always ridiculously packed, so I always run out there and then just kind of freeze to death in my car, and by the time I get to work, my car is heating up, which I'm like, oh, that's great. But another interesting quirk is that transit passes stored in your Apple Wallet, the car key feature won't require the phone to be unlocked with Face ID. So this seems kind of a little sketchy, because it's essentially if someone steals your phone, they could unlock your car, which I think Apple, I'm sure, will be addressing that soon. They're going to be working on a fix for that. But one cool thing about it is this car key feature would work with a phone that has a dead battery. So that can come great. That can be really clutch in some situations. So that's really cool. Apple just continuing to add little nicks and things here and there to their operating system throughout the board. So one of the other changes that stood out to me is they included universal purchase for Apple Arcade, which lets you purchase an app once for use across iPhone, iPod Touch, iPad, Mac, and Apple TV. So that's, I would have thought they already had that, but I guess they missed on initially. But it's cool to see they go ahead and add that now. So that is just a little rundown of what to expect in iOS 13.4. If you haven't, some people have automatic updates. I do. If you don't, just go to your systems and look for update, and it should be there. You could download it and install it, have it all set to go. So we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how Google is banning the Infowars Android app over false coronavirus claims.
Are you looking for a podcast that gives you all of the latest news from the world of finance? Then check out the GSMC Financial News Podcast. We'll delve into the ups and downs of the stock market, changes in the economy, and news from the world of real estate and technology. From breaking news on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, or the overseas market, to updates on the bond market, if there's money to be made, we'll cover it on the GSMC Financial News Podcast.
Now, last segment, we discussed iOS 13.4. Apple just released it last Tuesday and went over some of the new features in that operating system. And in this segment, we're going to be talking about Google banning the Infowars Android app over false coronavirus claims. So, Google has finally gotten around to banning the Infowars Android app from the Google Play Store. Now, for you guys who don't know, Infowars is a far-right American conspiracy theory and fake news website owned by Alex Jones. It was founded in 1999 and operates under Free Speech Systems, LLC. Talk shows and other content for the site are created primarily in studios at an undisclosed location in an industrial area in the outskirts of Austin, Texas. The Infowars website receives approximately 10 million monthly visits, making its reach greater than some mainstream news websites such as The Economist and Newsweek. And I got that info right there from Wikipedia. Some other little just backstory. The site has regularly published fake stories which had been linked to harassment of victims. In February 2018, Jones, the publisher, director and owner of Infowars, was accused of discrimination and sexually harassing employees. Infowars, and in particular Jones, advocate numerous conspiracy theories, particularly around purported domestic false flag operations by the U.S. government. Infowars has issued retractions various times as a result of legal challenges. Alex Jones, the director and owner, he's had contentious material removed and has also been suspended and banned from many platforms, which include Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, and Roku. So, the reason the app was finally removed from Google Play Store was apparently because of a video posted by radio host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, aka the owner, that in it, he disputed the need for social distancing, shelter in place, and quarantine efforts meant to slow the spread of the novel coronavirus. There we go. Before the video was removed, before the app was removed, it had more than 100,000 downloads, according to Wired. In a statement, Google spokesperson released in regards to, them banning Infowars. They said, now more than ever, combating misinformation on the Play Store is a top priority for the team. When we find apps that violate Play policy by distributing misleading or harmful information, we remove them from the store. Infowars have yet to address what has happened, but that's no surprise there. And this is just a continuing trend we see where these tech companies are faced with these issues where it's, to at what certain point is free speech, and also where free speech, just because you have free speech doesn't necessarily mean they have to allow you to spread whatever you're saying on their platform, especially if it's misinformation, especially if it's dangerous, especially talking about something like the virus and trying to, discredit social distancing, saying all this is a fluke. Like, that's such a dangerous thing to do, as we already see right now. The U.S. has messed up already badly, reacting to this as late as we have. We're kind of just right now trying to play catch up to it. And so people like Alex Jones out here spreading false informations that go against what the CDC, what World Health Organization, all these, important big companies, credible organizations that are clearly telling us, like, this is an issue, social distancing is important. Just because the number seems small, it could rapidly increase. I saw something where, up until I think last week, U.S. was up to 1,000 deaths, and in over 48 hours, 1,000 we doubled. That doubled. So it went from 1,000 deaths to 2,000 deaths in a span of 48 hours. So this is a really dangerous virus we're dealing with, and it's good to see companies like Google. They should have been banned his app. They should have been banning Infowars, but it's good to see they finally get around to it. These tech companies have also publicly committed to cracking down on coronavirus informations across the board. Facebook, we talked about last week, Twitter also. In regards to Google has a SOS alert in place for searches for COVID-19. And also companies like Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Microsoft, Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube said they're jointly combating fraud and misinformation about the virus in a statement issued on March 16th. So these companies are cracking down on that, and it's important because misinformation is super dangerous at a time like this, where so many people's life can be affected, and ignorant people, just because you have a platform doesn't mean these companies can't, ban you, which they should be able to if you're a threat to society, essentially, which Alex Jones has proven on and on that he is. So it's cool to see Google hop on that. And like I said last week, just if you're reading, a lot of this is unknown for us regarding the virus. A lot of it we're just learning as it goes. If you're not sure, check for multiple resources, check multiple sites, check multiple news feeds, go to CNN, go to wherever else, but make sure you're getting information from multiple sources before you just believe, and avoid listening to what your family and friends are saying on Facebook, because Facebook is just a cesspool right now. It's all over the place. You got doctors on there left and right. You got conspiracy theories there left and right. It just might be my family and friends, but it just, every time I get on Facebook, it's just people throwing out their different theories and stuff like that. And it's just like, hey, why don't we just stay home? I know I've been dealing with like some sickness, and so I'm just trying to play my part. If we all play our part, we can get through this faster. So, yeah, Google banning Infowars, and Alex Jones losing another battle against his quote-unquote freedom of speech BS that he's throwing out there. But it's good to see these companies combat him and not let him just free will spit out hot garbage to society. Now, we're going to take one last break, and in this last segment, I'm going to discuss the return of HQ Trivia.
the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. Last segment we discussed Google finally banning Infowars from its platform. In this segment, we're going to wrap it up by talking about HQ Trivia rising up from the dust after being shut down just 2 months ago. Now, HQ Trivia is, like I said, is being resurrected just a little over a month after co-founder Russ Yusupov announced that the app was shutting down. So initially the app was shut down because CEO Russ reportedly sent a note to employees announcing that HQ would cease operations. In the note, he said that there had been an offer from an established business to acquire HQ that had a closing date of tomorrow, but that the potential acquirer suddenly changed their position. And I have the full note here. I'm going to read it real quick. Hi all, I'm writing to share some news with you today. We have enjoyed some great progress in expanding HQ's reach and solidifying our business model over the past year, which led us to engaging with the banker to help find additional investors and partners to support the expansion of the company. We received an offer from an established business to acquire HQ and continue building our vision, had definite agreements and legal docs and a projected closing date of tomorrow, and for reasons we are still investigating, they suddenly changed their position, and despite our best efforts, we were unable to reach an agreement. Unfortunately, our lead investors are no longer willing to fund the company, and so effective today, HQ will cease operations and move to dissolution. All employees and contractors will be terminated as of today. I want to thank everyone for their hard work and resilience, though through good times and bad, in helping to build an innovative and category-defining product. And he goes on, this is one of the hardest things to do in my life, and I'm really sorry for any disruption this may cause you and our players. We'll be in touch the next few days with more information regarding payroll and all that. But so that was just like I said, a little over a month ago, and then just announced today, basically today, that they are coming back. And HQ Trivia initially launched in 2017, and they quickly became a huge hit, in part due to the novel live nature of the game, its real cash prizes, and because of their popular host, Scott Rogowski. Over time, though, the app slowly started to lose popularity, and even the host had left last April. He went to join DAZN, which is a sports streaming service, to host a baseball show there. So just in the span of last year, the company had lost a lot of lackluster to it, and I had really forgotten about it. I knew when it was like in its prime, a lot of my friends were playing it, and I never downloaded to play it, but it definitely had a good gathering, and it had a lot of people excited. I think part of them being able to make a push to resurrect right now, I think is the fact of, with the coronavirus, everyone being at home and everyone having this time. I think whoever decided to invest back in the company really saw this as a prime time to really relaunch this, and so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. A source close to the company confirmed to the Verge the app is officially back, meaning this isn't just a one-off event. They are saying episodes will begin to air more regularly in the future, but the schedule is currently up in the air as they're figuring things out. The company has been acquired by a private investor who has asked to not be named. So, yeah, I think they noticed that, among everything being at a standstill right now, and everyone looking for a form of entertainment, HQ was thriving at one point, and I think they're trying to come back at it, revamp it back, and maybe give it another shot. And this would be a good time to really do that, because we're seeing a lot of different venues where artists, creatives, different companies are finding little niches to be able to excel. Like Instagram Live has really been the hot entertainment source on the past few weeks. A lot of famous DJs, artists have been going on live and basically doing their own personal concerts. There have been little battles back and forth as far as just you play your music, I play my music, and everyone's just reacting to it. It's a cool live experience with the audience. And then also a lot of artists and bands have gone on live to perform from their living room to the fans, which creates a really cool intimate experience. So I think if HQ does this well, they can thrive during this period if they're able to get it up and running real quick, and then also maybe potentially build out into the rest of the year, and maybe be able to have a more long sustaining success as they had in that brief period back in 18 and part of 19. So HQ's back. We'll see how it goes. And if you were playing the game, you should have gotten a notification from them. They notified people that they're back, and so I'm sure they're going to keep notifying people as far as when the first episode will be. And I'm sure that first cash prize is going to be a nice one. So if you're in the need for some money, that's one thing to keep a lookout for. But thank you for listening to the GSMC Technology News Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us out. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for listening. Hope you guys have a great day, night, whatever time it may be for you. And please stay safe out there. Social distance and wash your hands, hand sanitizer, all that. Talk to you guys later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.